guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. So first of all, sorry I wasn't here last week. I hope you enjoyed the Benson Bowl routine. This is going to be a bumper Q&A. There are a ton of questions. Now, if you want to get your question answered, try to get it in for Monday or Tuesday. That's typically when I film these things. If you don't get it in for Monday or Tuesday, I might not get to the question. If I miss your question, ask it down below and I promise I will get back to it the following week. Outside of that, you're getting my raw, unfiltered opinion. If I think a question is kind of the sort of question that would be better off with a standalone video, I will make that video as soon as I can. Now, with that all being said, one other thing, thank you so much for watching these videos. Thank you so much for watching the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Everything that you do, I really appreciate it. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing Magic TV. And with that being said, we're going to get straight into it with this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Costa Magic, who says, "Hey Craig, in your recent video, you mentioned a multiple selection routine for 10 people and that you use some memory techniques to remember all of their names. I'd love to hear a bit more about those techniques and any sources you recommend for learning more about them. Thanks and keep up the awesome work." I'm doing a video on memory techniques in a bit, and specifically how I do that 10 card selection thing, because it's actually quite easy to remember 10 people's names, and I can go through that for you no problem. So there's a video that I'm putting together on that. You want to look into anything by Harry Lorraine. Harry Lorraine has some excellent work on memory techniques, and I believe there's a book, The Memory Book by Harry Lorraine and Jerry Lucas. I'm sure that's the one that I read. The Memory Book, a classic guide to improving your memory at school, work and play. Yeah, it's a Harry Lorraine book. You can get it from Amazon. It is available. An effective guide into faster reading and memory training based on system developed by a leading specialist in the field of memory enhancement. In the handbook designed to help readers develop their study skills, remember and use important details and more. So yeah, that is something that is worth looking at. I mean, there's a ton of memory books. I'm just looking at a whole bunch of them on Amazon here. Superpower Memory by Harry Lorraine is another one. How to develop a superpowered memory. Ageless Memory, the memory expert's prescription for a razor sharp mind. Again, that's by Harry Lorraine. Another one by Harry Lorraine, Simple Secrets for Keeping Your Brain Young. Another one by Harry Lorraine, The Memory Book. Oh no, that's the one that we just talked about. Another one here, Remembering People, The Key to Success by Harry Lorraine. Superpower Memory by Harry Lorraine. Harry Lorraine's Page a Minute Memory Book. I mean, there's a ton of different books, all available on Amazon, all by Harry Lorraine, and he was the leading expert. It's how I learned the stuff that I can do. Now, I'm going to do a video on it at some point, but I'd go on Amazon and look for some books by Harry Lorraine and pick one that's got some good reviews that you like the look of. Okay, so the next question is Michael Stager, who says, "How do you deal with hecklers when your character isn't as aggressive or sarcastic as yours?" I did a video on hecklers and how to deal with hecklers. The biggest thing that I would say, and the most important thing, is a lot of people that heckle, if you make them the star of the show, if you make them the person who everybody loves, they will be your biggest fan. So if you walk over to a group of people and you're getting a mild heckle, rather than being aggressive with them, rather than being sarcastic with them, so if you've identified them, for example, as the alpha male, do a trick where they become the star of the show. And you say, look, I'm going to get you to help me if you don't mind. What's your name? John. Okay, John, wonderful. Thanks so much. You're going to help me. And I promise you, you're going to be the star of the show. John's going to actually do this himself. And then do something, you know, my empowerment routine, a spectator as a mind reader, have him cut the aces and find the 4 aces. Whatever you want to do, make him the star of the show. Because when you do that, he will become your biggest supporter and biggest fan. You don't necessarily have to do a heckler put down. You don't necessarily have to be sarcastic. And look, it's very rare to go up in a close-up environment and have a heckler who's being really like non-stop constantly. If that happens, just take a step back and just go, look, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to annoy you guys. I can see that it's probably best if I find another table. Thanks very much, and I hope you have a great evening, and just walk away. Because there's no point standing there and battling with somebody if it's just going back and forth and back and forth. There's no point in doing that at all. So just walk away. Now, if I ever have to do that, and it's rare, but it has happened, I will make a point of going to every single table near that table and have them go crazy. I want them to raise the roof. I want to have that as my best reaction, because I want to show that other table that they've kind of missed out. And in the past, I've had people from the original table come to me later on in the evening and go, look, I'm really sorry you came over to the table earlier on. Would you mind coming back? We'd like to see what you're doing. And that's the best way to deal with the heckler, by showing the rest of the table that you're missing out, or they're missing out, because a lot of the time it's one person, and that one person does not speak for the whole group. Whether it's a table, whether it's a group of people and you're doing mix and mingle, it's typically just one person. So, you know, there's no shame in stepping away. I've seen people like Jimmy Carr that has ejected people from his stand-up shows in the past, you know, because the person has just been too full on. And Jimmy's great at dealing with hecklers. It's part of his shtick. So, you know, my advice would be, just, you know, like, remove yourself from the situation if making them the star doesn't work. You know, that's the next option. Okay, so the next question is from AJ Castellado, who says, hello, Craig, hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask if you can give your opinion on the new Trinity book test just released by Penguin Magic, and what makes it different from the Zanman book tests. Trinity is amazing. Alex Latorre is an incredible magician. And I gave a quote for this book. I think it's great. I'm going to be doing a review show special on this very, very soon. So I don't want to kind of say too much now. But I will say, I love the Zanman book test. I have done it for years. In my humble opinion, I think this is better for a few different reasons, and I will get into those reasons in the review. I don't think this is the right time, and I'm going to try and do it in a very non-exposure way, but I'm going to kind of maybe do I'm thinking of doing, rather than a review show special, kind of almost like a side-by-side comparison, because you're not the first person to ask me about that. And so we'll try a new kind of format for doing that. So yeah, look out for it. It's coming soon. But yeah, it's good. Okay, so the next question is from Jay Hidalgo, who says, hi, Craig, hope you can address this question. Let's imagine a situation in which you want to learn a trick you've got. Maybe you purchase a new project, or you decide on a trick in a book that you already own. What are the steps to properly learning, rehearsing, and finally performing it to people? Also, it'd be great if you could review the book Practice Playbook by Eric Uratz. Thanks so much for your response. Okay, I haven't heard of Practice Playbook, but I will look it up. In terms of what are the steps, let's say it's a trick in a book, right? I've seen a trick in a book. I really like it. Step number one is read it a couple of times so you understand the basic structure. So read it a couple of times, get in your head kind of, without the props, just read it a couple of times and just get in your head what this trick is meant to be, and the beats and what's happening and so on and so forth. Then get the props and work through it slowly, and try to do it in a room where there's not distractions. I've spoken to magicians in the past, and they say they struggle learning new material. And when I speak to them about it, it's because they're reading the book in the same room that their family are watching TV, or they're sitting on the sofa, like relaxed, and the dog's coming up and they're trying to like practice this trick. Honestly, I think if it's a trick that you really want to learn, find yourself a quiet space. Now, I'm lucky I've got an office at the bottom of my garden. I go there and I get out of the way of everybody. But it could be you go into your kitchen or your dining room table or something, and your family's in another room, and you just open up the book and you've got the props in front of you on a table. Have a dedicated practice place. I think that's really important. Dedicated place that you can go away from distractions. And then have the props in hand and walk it through slowly. And just walk through the routine with the props in hand. If there's a moment where you don't fully, it's difficult for you to do it, maybe it's a new sleight, or it's maybe something you don't understand, just don't try and spend forever on that moment right there. Just kind of have the props in your hand and go through the whole thing, because what you're doing here is you're identifying any problematic areas. So let's say there's one or two areas where it's a sleight you've not really done before, and you have to maybe learn that sleight. Now you focus on those two areas, on the first one, then on the second one, and you focus on that particular aspect. So let's say it's a color change that you've not done before. Let's just say I've got a couple of cards here. Let's just say it's two cards, and you're holding them as one, and you've never done this before, but you're having to do some sort of color change with those two cards, and then hand that card off to somebody after you've done it. let's just say. And that's something that you've not done before, right? So what you do is you work on that, because there's no point in going to the next step until you can do every part of that routine. So it's important to get that aspect down. So if there's problematic areas of that particular routine that you haven't done before, or it's something that's new to you, make sure that you kind of put more focus into that. Now, when you've got those two parts down, the next step then is to put the whole routine together and start walking it through. Again, follow the book and work it through with your hands, and make sure that you know exactly what's going on, right? Then put everything to one side and leave it like a day, because you know, sometimes you can do too much practice. If you leave it a day and you come back to it, you come back to it with a fresher mind. But in that day, think of the routine, think about what you're going to say. Now, sometimes you'll be given a script. Decide whether that script's the right script for you. You might want to inject your own personality into it, but think what you're going to say. And then, and I always do this with my kids when they're putting something new together, then perform the routine, but pantomime the props. So if it's a card trick, perform the routine out loud, perform it out loud in the environment in which you think that you're going to be performing this. So if this is for a close-up show and you're sitting down at a table, do it sitting down like this. If it's for a walk-around piece, do it standing up. If it's for a stage piece, do it, again, standing up, right? But actually pantomime through it. So, right, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'd like to show you something with this pack of cards. Now, I'm going to show you something with this pack of cards. First of all, can you shuffle the cards for me? Mix them up. Fantastic. Now, while these cards are being shuffled, let me explain what's going on. I've got this giant dildo, and what's going to happen is I'm going to take this dildo, whatever it is, right? So you're pantomiming through whatever the trick is, making sure that you've got the beats and you know the presentation, and then when you've done that, you put it all together and you take all of the props, and you're in the same situation, but now you've kind of learnt the script without the props being there. So now you introduce the props, because that's going to throw up some differences, especially if you're using music. If it's a stage piece and there's music behind and you're trying to set particular beats, or you're trying to get it in at a particular point, that music will throw you, because it's going to take longer with the props than it would have done pantomiming it. So you need to bear that in mind as well. By the way, if you're adding music to a routine and you're wanting it to finish at a particular point, a lot of the time it's about practicing with that music over and over again. That takes an entire new thing. You have to get the script down with that music. But then you practice it all together, right? You put it all together in the environment in which you're planning on doing it, and you get it to a point where you feel happy with it. You then video yourself and you watch the video back, and you make sure that you're happy with it, because a lot of the time you won't be. You'll look at it and you go, I don't like that because of that. Right, okay, we'll do it again. I don't like that because of that. I'll do it again. And you video yourself 10, 15 times until you've got it at a point where you feel really happy with it. And you've probably seen Ryland, my son Ryland, posting rehearsal videos in various different Facebook groups. He loves doing that to get feedback. At that point, he is looking for feedback from himself and from others. And when you see Ryland posting a rehearsal video, he's probably never done that in front of a real audience. He's getting to the point where he's rehearsing it so he can go and do it in front of a real audience, and he's getting to the point where he's doing it in front of a camera. If that kind of makes sense. And then you put it in front of a real audience. Because that's the thing where a lot of people fall down on. A lot of people fall down at that point. They get to the point where they feel it's ready, and then they put the prop in their case, or they prop the prop in wherever, and it has a little trip to a gig and then comes back, and you don't feel like you've got the balls to do it, because it's nervous. I know my other stuff's going to work, so why would I put that in? A lot of the time, if we're talking about a professional performance, I will not take half of the stuff that I know I can rely on. If there's something I really want to do and I'm worried about it, I will just focus on that and that alone. There's times in the past where I've gone to gigs and I've literally just took 3 props and when I did Focus, for example, there's 45 routines on the Focus project. I was literally just going to gigs and just taking Focus and doing all of the routines with Focus. And that's it really. And then, you work it in and you start again with another prop. So, I'll look at the practice playbook, but that's what I've always done. That's what I always do with Ryland and Thea. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so Architect Tip says, hi Craig, just wanted to say you inspired me to get into magic. Started about a month and a half ago after watching a few of your videos, and now I'm one of your biggest fans. Dude, thank you so much. I have 3 of your products, Monsters, Visible, and the Quantum Deck. They're 3 good ones. You are the GOAT, in my opinion. Well, I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. I would love to come and see one of your shows and meet you in person. I'm continuing to learn from you. Keep up the excellent work and everything you do. You're truly amazing at your craft. P.S. My wife keeps saying you're obsessed by watching Craig's content. You're not the only magician that says their wife is sick to death of me. My own wife is sick to death of me, so I totally understand. But I really appreciate that. The whole point of this channel is to get people into magic. You know, that's the most important thing about this channel. And, you know, I read something the other day on the Jerks website, and somebody emailed in to the Jerks and said, can you explain Craig Petty? Why is he in a position to put content out on YouTube? You know, he's the worst performer in the world, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing now. And look, here's the thing. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. If you think I'm a terrible performer, I am. But that's not somebody who I want in my audience. The people I want to have watch me are people that kind of vibe with the type of magic that I do, and are looking to kind of level up in business, in magic, in every single aspect. And the fact that you've got into magic a month and a half ago and I've been a part of that is amazing. So thank you so much, and keep up the great work. Daniel Young says, I know we're all gutted that you're spoken for. Yeah, I know. All the men want to be with me. All the men want to be me. All the women want to be with me, right? But if you were single and you had to cook a meal to impress a date, what would you make, and what magic trick would you use to impress her? Great question. I'm incredible at making spaghetti bolognese. My spaghetti bolognese is the stuff of legend. I am not the greatest cook in the world, despite doing it at A level. I'm not the greatest cook in the world. However, my spaghetti bolognese is amazing. And I'm also really good at cooking cheesecakes. My cheesecake is on point, my cheesecake game. So it'd probably be a cheesecake, and it'd probably be a spaghetti bolognese. In terms of the best magic, what magic trick I'd do to impress her, I can tell you right now, because the last time I used a magic trick to impress somebody, it was Sarah. We met online, we went back and forth, and there's a funny story there that one day I'll tell everybody. But we met online, and I'll tell you now, screw it, I don't care. So we met online back when meeting online wasn't even a thing, really. It was this thing called Yahoo Personals. And we chatted back and forth for weeks. And I was really nervous because I really liked her. And she just casually dropped. Every night we'd send each other massive emails. This is before social media. And then on her latest email, she dropped me a thing that said, hey, this is my phone number. Feel free to give me a call if you want to tonight. And I was like, oh my God. And I was really nervous. And I don't drink very often, really just at magic conventions. That's pretty much it. But I was so nervous. I had a few drinks, and I kind of got a little bit, not wankered, but I was a bit drunk. Of course, I was trying to get the courage to ring her. And so I rang her, and we had an amazing conversation that went about 4 hours. And then when she sent me an email the next day saying, hey, let's chat again. Give me a call tonight. Now, I unfortunately could not remember a single thing of what I said in that conversation with her, because I got to the point where I was so nervous, I'd drunk so much. I apparently had a great conversation. I couldn't remember it. And so the next night I decided to stay sober. I called her, and then she told me a few weeks later, she almost dumped me after that second phone conversation, because we had an identical conversation. Everything was exactly the same, and she couldn't understand why, and she thought like there was something weird there. But on our first date, we went in a restaurant and we had a great time. On our second date, this is how long ago me and Sarah met, we went to the cinema. And we went to see The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. That was the very first film me and Sarah went to see together. And we arranged to meet in a bar in this place called the Touchwood Centre in Solihull. And we were going to go to the cinema afterwards. So we met in this bar. And in the first date, I told her that I was a magician. Actually, I told her all over email. But I made the decision in the first date, I'm not going to do a magic trick. I don't want it to be about that. But in the second date, we met at this bar. And I bought something with me just in case she asked, and she did. She was like, okay, you say you're a magician, show me a trick. And she will tell you, if you ask her, that she thought it was going to be dreadful and awful. And I did the David Roth coins across. I did David Roth's coins across exactly the same as David taught it in Expert Coin Technique. And she was blown away, and she was like, oh my God, you're really good. And thank you, David Roth, rest in peace. And and then we went to the cinema. And after that, she was wanting to see more magic and more magic and more magic. And she really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, what trick would I do to impress her? I did. It's David Roth's Coins Across. It was happening in her hands, and it's an amazing routine. So thanks for the question. Sorry for the long-winded answer. Hopefully that answered it. Okay, Magic Human says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy would you say it is to be a full-time professional magician? It very much depends on your attitude. If you've got a go-getter attitude, if you've got an entrepreneurial mindset, then it's 1 out of 10. It's super easy. But if you haven't got that entrepreneurial mindset and you're not prepared to do a lot of other stuff, then it's 10 out of 10. It's difficult. Because here's the thing, right? It's easy enough to get a gig and go and do the gig and make some money and so on and so forth. But what you have to understand is when you're running a business, there's a lot more to it. I tell this story quite a lot on YouTube. I'll say it very quickly again. Out of all of the businesses that are opened up, only 20%, 80% of businesses close within the first 5 years. And out of the 20% that survive, only 20% of those fulfill their full potential. And the reason is, when you become a business owner, when you become a full-time professional magician, it's not about the magic anymore. It's not. It's about everything else. You have to learn how to design a website. You have to learn how to create ad copy. You have to learn about SEO. You have to learn about social media marketing. You have to learn about invoicing. You have to learn about accounts. You have to learn about bookkeeping. You have to learn about spreadsheets. You have to learn about PPC. You have to learn about, everything. So much stuff to learn about. That is required to do the marketing and the sales and the admin and the accounts and the bookkeeping side of the business. And the bit where you actually go out and perform, that's the fun bit, right? But most professional people that want to become a professional magician, they have in their mind, oh, I'm just going to go out and do gigs. Now, that can happen if you win Britain's Got Talent and get a manager, for example, or if you have a management company pick you up. But generally, as a rule, that's not what's going to happen. And that's why most magicians fail. If they fail, it's because they don't want to do all of the other stuff. And instead they just want to go out and do the magic bit, and that is the problem. So it can be easy, it can be difficult. Look, the bottom line is, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, and not everybody does it. And the ones that do, not everyone does it successfully. So it's not the easiest thing in the world, but if you've got the right attitude, if you're prepared to go all in, and you've got an entrepreneurial mindset, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. Okay, so the next question is from Yinhao Magic, who says, looking to get a ring flight type effect, currently considering Stolen by Urbane or Air Flight. Any pros or cons between the two? Stolen is my favourite. I take that to every gig. I do it in every gig. I did a close-up gig and an illusion show last night in Scotland, and I did that about 4 times. I only had to do half an hour of close-up magic, and that's how many times I did it. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. I love it for a variety of different reasons. I love the fact that you're not having to secretly hook the ring, and instead, you have a reason for putting it onto it. I just love everything about it. Air Flight is on my keys. It's my everyday carry. I have it with me at all times on my keychain. Ryland has one on his keychain. It's not something that I love ring flight, but it's Stolen that I do. I probably would never do Air Flight in a professional gig, but I will do it. Absolutely 100% I will do it if you see me out and about. In fact, I have probably 3 times this week. And it's great. You could do it in a professional gig, but realistically, I'm not going to do that and Stolen. So I do Stolen. However, I'm not going to take Stolen with me as an everyday carry, but I can have Air Flight with me on my keychain with my keys, and I can do that anytime, anywhere. Okay, so the next question is from Magic Frags, who says, howdy, Craig. Howdy, buddy. My question, what is your favourite peak method and routines to perform with the Orphic? Longer ones and those short show me a trick ones. Just got mine not long ago, and I'd love to hear your opinion. Okay, so my favourite peak routine, which I do all of the time, is it was on Evoke. So on Evoke, Peter Nardi taught a routine with a peak wallet and the Evoke cards. And the idea is he had somebody write down the name of a friend from school, and he had it put inside the wallet, and he put the wallet to one side, and then he would go through and use the Evoke cards and have them take out an emotion that people that they feel when they think about that person. And because of how Evoke works, the second they take that out and put it in their pocket, you're going to know what their emotion is. So then you can do almost like you can give them a lot of information before you even go back to the wallet to get the peak. And I typically will get the peak by getting another card, or sometimes I'll pick up the wallet and just put it away and peek it at that point. But I don't have to do any peeking, and I've got a ton of information. Let's say it's happy. I know that that person they're thinking of, they've got a great relationship with, versus, you know, on the tutorial for Evoke, somebody picked xenophobic, and I'm like, okay, this is you wrote somebody down, this is a friend of yours, but you're not friends with them anymore, are you? And they were like, oh my god, something happened at school that made you kind of go separate ways and you've not seen them since. I'm like, how did you know that? And it feels like you're not just talking to them about the person, but you're telling them about their relationship with the person. And using the Evoke cards gives you so much information to be able to do a cold read like that before you even tell them the name of the person, and it really elevates that. I think one of the strongest things that you can do in mentalism is tell somebody the name of a person they're thinking of, but you combine it with Evoke and it becomes 20 times more powerful, because now you can tell them all about their relationship, and there's lots of things that you can tell them based on the emotion that they feel about that person. For me, that's the strongest thing that I do with a Peak wallet by far. And there's other things that I do. There's a Richard Osterlin routine that I love, that I do with Orphic as well, which is, and I've done this for years, I love doing it in a Parlour type situation. You get two people up on stage, and one person, you get them to write down a time, any time, and make it a really random time. So they write down a time and you put it in the Peak wallet, and as I rotate it, if you know the Orphic, you know, as I rotate it, I get the peak. And then I have the other person take their watch off, and I have them twizzle the dial and stop anytime they want to, and they push the thing in and they hold on to it. And then I read the first person's mind, and I tell them the time they're thinking of, and then the second person looks at their watch and have set the watch to that time. And it's one of the best things that Richard Osterlin has done, in my opinion. It's amazing. You can learn it off his L&L DVD set, his first L&L DVD set, not his second or his third. And it's amazing. I love doing that, and as long as I spot somebody with the right type of watch, I can do that anytime, anywhere. It's a great everyday carry. Okay, so Magic Frags also says, what is my favorite effect with a normal deck of cards? I would say one of two. My first favorite trick with a normal deck of cards is card under box. I love card under box. I do it all of the time. It's probably my go-to trick. I taught it on the Penguin. I taught my version on the Penguin, on my first Penguin Live. And then the second thing is something called Mystique, which again is on the Netrix, I believe, Mystique, and it was called Mystique because of Russ Stevens and his Illusion Act. It's like a mini illusion with a deck of cards. Both of those routines, by the way, are taught on the Button Project by Chris James. I got to do the tutorial for that project, and I taught variations of both of those routines that incorporated the button as well. So yeah, get the Button Project because both of those are on there, but those are my two favorite tricks with a regular deck of cards. Okay, so the next question is Jag Magic, who said, hey Craig, two questions. One, what would you recommend? What was your favorite effects with normal cards? I've just answered that. Somebody else asked it. Card in the box and Mystique. Although I very much like the Awesome Sandwich that was in my book, Absolute Madness. Awesome Sandwich is something that I do a hell of a lot. And card to pocket. I've got a multi-phase card to pocket, which is on the Netrix, and I love performing that card to pocket routine. It's super awesome, and I do it all of the time. So the card to pocket should be up there as well. And number two, you should definitely do a thumb tip video like your sponge ball one. Would love to see a goals video. Both of those videos are ones that are coming soon. So yes, we are doing a thumb tip video and a sponge video. The thumb tip one hopefully will be up in the next week or so. And I'm doing a second follow-up sponge ball routine as well, because the sponge ball video went so well and the Benson bowl routine video went so well. We're going to be doing another one, as well as kind of an overarching goals video. So there, lots of stuff coming up on Magic TV. Okay, so the next question again is from Yin Ho Magic, who says, thanks once again for answering everyone's questions so sincerely. You're more than welcome. Question, have you come across clients that want to book you for a show, but for a much shorter duration that you typically offer. Say they just want a 5 or 10 minute stage performance. Do you have any advice on how to quote for a show like this? Do you quote for your full rate or reduced rate, since the preparation travel is essentially the same? Yeah, we get that all the time. I've literally just booked in a 15-minute illusion show, and I always say to people, we give them the quote based on, we say that the show can run anything from 15 minutes to an hour. If it's close up, we normally typically will advise 2 hours. But if they come back and they say they want an hour of close-up magic, or half an hour of close-up magic, or a 10-minute show, whatever the case may be, we tell them the price is the same. We say, yeah, absolutely, not a problem, but the price doesn't really change. And the reason it doesn't, because all the costs are the same. It's still going to take us out for the same length of time. It's not like we can take another booking on that day and all of the costs from our point of view will remain the same. Now, it's at the discretion of the sales team. Sometimes they will give them a small discount. They are allowed to give a slight discount, like 50 quid, potentially, if they think that's going to help them seal the deal. But generally, as a rule, we tend to keep the price exactly the same. Okay, so the next question is from Darren Gregg, who says, "Hi Craig, thanks for answering my questions over the last few months. No problem, you're more than welcome. This week, I'd like to ask you about effects that use the game of rock, paper, scissors. A few days ago, I was challenged by a friend of a friend to play rock, paper, scissors. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many rounds of the game were played, we just could not win. There was an occasional draw, but mostly he won every time. All he asked was for me not to go with the same choice if we drew. Do you know if he was using a technique known to mentalists or magicians to achieve this? He absolutely wouldn't tell me how he did it, and it's unlikely I'll ever meet him again anytime soon. Also, are there any other commercial available tricks involving the game that you know of? And finally, what do you think is the best witch hand effect? Thanks, Darren." Right, lots of questions there. First of all, let's go to the, I'm doing a bit of Googling here. Let's go to the rock, paper, scissors thing. Rock, paper, scissors is, okay. Okay, so there's a couple of different things that are on the market. The first is, and this is available and in stock at Monster Magic, is the RPS Rock, Paper, Scissors prediction by Paul Andrews. Rock, paper, scissors is one of the most famous games in the world, and now you can predict the outcome of the game every single time. Using 3 cool, tiny little hands, you invite the spectator to swap their gestures a number of times, and you correctly predict who will win and who will lose. So that's by Paul Andrews. That's meant to be very, very good. I haven't seen that myself yet, but I am picking it up. And then Michael Murray. Let me see. Michael Murray did a thing. Where is the thing? So Michael's website is Mind Effects. And on Mind Effects, there is, me and Rylan reviewed this recently. Please tell me I can find it. Let me have a look. Shop, view all. Can't find it. Mind Effects, Mind Effects, Mind Effects. It's on here somewhere. Where is the question? But somewhere on Mind Effects, there is a trick that me and Ryan reviewed, and it used, here we go. This isn't it, but this is another one. Actually, I'll talk to you about this as well. On Mind Effects, there's a book by Mark Elston called Rock, Paper, Winner. Rock, Paper, Winner is a brand new minimalist approach to rock, paper, scissors that just uses your business cards. All selections are done in your hands and completely free. You're able to predict the exact outcome with 100% certainty. No gimmicks, no process, no dual reality, no equivoque. 3 business cards, 2 players, 1 guaranteed outcome. The performer chooses nothing but predicts everything. Everything can be examined and given away at the end. Okay, so that is one. I wonder if there's another one that me and Ryan reviewed. There it is. Is it that one? Yes, that's it. Yes. So this is a book, and you get little poker chips with it as well. And we gave this a great review. The Remote Perception System by Michael Murray and Ian Cheetham. Okay. And after the hugely successful launch, blah, 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 blah. With this book, you'll discover multiple methodologies which will afford you the ability to reveal the exact winners of rock, paper, scissors, but will also allow you to detail the specific weapons that the person threw. Best of all, these ideas are versatile enough to be performed live in person over Skype or even over the phone. and it works in any language, easy to perform, no complex systems, basic understanding of the rules of rock, paper, scissors is all that's required. You've got versions to perform on stage, versions to perform close-up. You also get poker chips, one with a rock on, one with a paper on, one with the scissors on, little hands, right? And they're marked on the back to allow you to do it with no memory work at all. But the book also covers multiple methods to do it completely propless, which is exactly how you were describing the whole thing was done. So there's 3 sources. I believe Pete Turner's got something on there as well. Or Pete Turner's got a rock, paper, scissors things as well, but I've not seen it. It's probably on one of his projects with Propless Mentalism. But any of those would work. The remote perception system is the one that I can highly recommend because I've reviewed it and I know it's amazing. Okay, so Michael Stager says, "Hi Craig, thanks for the booking video. I'm currently working on booking a fundraiser for a local theatre and that video definitely helped. Because the audience is likely going to be a family audience, is it best to tailor my show towards kids? Also, can you do a trick like needles in that kind of audience? Edit, when do you ask for this process about payment and getting a quote? Hope all is well." Right, okay. Okay, family audience, tone a show towards kids. Yeah, if you've got a family audience, you definitely want to make sure the material is family orientated. Now, the question about can you do a trick like needles, it very much depends. You're going to get 2 lots of answers. I mean, I do an illusion show for kids, and I'm putting girls in boxes, and I'm putting blades through them, and I'm putting sticks through them, and a whole bunch of different stuff. So, you know, I mean, that's dangerous, right? And I've done the needle swallow very effectively in family audiences. You have to be very careful because if you get the wrong person that comes along and is worried about their kid copying you and putting a needle in your mouth, that can be a major issue. There is a version of the needle swallow using Fruit Loops breakfast cereal. And Dental Dam, I think it is, which you might want to do. And you could say, hey, you know, I do a very dangerous trick where I take needles and I put them in my mouth and I tie them onto a piece of thread. But, you know, when I started doing this, I was a little kid. I was like 5 or 6 years old. And I did it at my breakfast table. And I'd be eating breakfast and I learned how to do it there. Would you like to see what I did? Maybe go down that route. Generally, as a rule, unless the act is kind of known, unless you're known for doing that particular effect, you might want to err on the side of caution, really, because it's something that a lot of parents could get very, very funny about. And in terms of payment, I always ask for payment up front. I don't do cash. Everything's settled within 2 weeks before the booking. So 2 weeks before the booking, the payment has to come in full. And if it doesn't, we're going to be chasing it up and cancelling the booking if they don't pay in full. So that's my attitude of doing that. And I've never had a problem. I know some people deal with cash and that's fine. But my attitude is if they want you, that's your payment terms. Okay, so the next question is from Ben Matthews, Boundless Magic, who says, "Hi Craig, love your coin work and projects." Thank you very much, Ben. "Recently got Mirage and Nightshade added to my copy of Apparition. Love them." Oh, amazing, man. You've got some incredible coin sets there. "Wondering when your next one's coming out. I believe it was hinted at in another video when you released Nightshade. The Imagination set or something. Can you give us a little more information? Cheers." Yes, the Imagination set is coming. It's going to be 2026. That's the next big release. However, Alakazam have got 2 other coin sets coming out. One of which is called Cobra Coin, that's coming at the end of the year, and one of which is called Ionization, that's coming next year. From my point of view, both of those are done. Tutorial, trailer, everything, completely done. Yeah, trying to think. I've also got a trick. So with Penguin, I've got something called Game Changer that I did on behalf. No, that was mine. Yeah, I did Game Changer, which is an amazing coin set, an absolutely brilliant coin set. And the reactions for that are just off the roof. It's probably the best mix and mingle coin set you'll ever see. And I worked on something for Seth Race that's just brilliant. I think it's called Switchblade. I'm not 100% sure. But that was a big coin project for a Seth Race gimmick that's incredible. Outside of that, there's the Bag Reborn, which sometimes people forget about, but the Bag Reborn's got some amazing coin magic. A lot of the key stuff I do, Key Cutter, Gatekeeper, Keymaster, they've all got like a coin magic feel to them. So if you've not seen any of my key stuff, that might be stuff you want to look at. And then obviously there's my Coin Magic Academies with Alakazam. I've done 3 so far, and all of them have got a very eclectic range of coin magic, as well as the stuff that I put on the Netrix. But the next big coin set, the Imagination coin set, it's coming sort of mid to end of 2026. But Cobra coin that's coming at the end of this year, you want to look out for that, because that is awesome. Okay, so Punkala's got a question. Hi, Craig. What's the best Spectator cuts the aces trick that you know? How about ungaffed Monty tricks? Okay, so ungaffed Monty tricks, I would say, is Stuck Up Monty. It's technically slightly gaffed, but not really. But I'd say Stuck Up Monty, which is a Mark Mason routine, and I got his permission to include it in the Stick Up by myself and Matthew Wright. That is my favourite ungimmicked Monty routine of all time. Best Spectator cuts the aces. I very much like, I very much like Eldo Colombini's version. That's a great version of it. Also in Smoke and Mirrors, John Bannon put a fantastic Spectator cuts the aces routine together. Valentino, is it Valentino? Yeah, Valentino has a great Spectator cuts the aces, as does Darwin Ortiz in one of his books. I think it was Card Shark. He's got a great Spectator cuts the aces. And I've got a version, which at one point I'll probably go through with people. I've got a version of Paul Gordon's Estimated Aces, or Easy Estimation Aces, where the spectator's doing all of the cuts themselves. They're actually doing that themselves. And that's probably my favourite version, because they really are cutting the deck. There is no limitation at all. They're cutting the deck. Also, if you like gimmick decks, David Regal years ago brought out an incredible gimmick deck that basically allowed the spectator to cut 4 places and get 4 aces, and that's really good. Can't remember the name of it. I think it was Deja Vu or something, Deja Vu Aces. Can't remember, but that was really good as well. Okay, another question from Punkala, who says, speaking of Spectator cuts the aces, I want to share a hook line that I came up with for a Spectator cuts the aces routine. Have you heard of Stockholm Syndrome? You know, the phenomenon where hostages sympathise with bank robbers. What most people don't know is what actually happened in Stockholm was the Swedish police did such a terrible job of negotiating with the robbers that the hostages had to negotiate for themselves. They then made up the term Stockholm Syndrome to blame the people, when in reality it was the people who had to do the job because the professionals were so useless. Anyway, in this trick, you're going to be handling the cards. Yeah, very, very good. It wouldn't work for me. It's not my style, but I can see it working really well. And any time you can make a card trick more than just a card trick, that's a win in my book. So yeah, fantastic, great idea. Try it out and let me know how it goes. Okay, so the next question is from Adonis Beridon, who says, hi Craig, how would you handle the set list of a show when a client hires you multiple times in a short period? I got booked for 3 parties in the same month when most of the audience were going to be repeated. Whenever I take a booking and it's a show, I write down on the show list exactly what I did, because I do get a lot of repeat bookings. And one of the things I say to the client is I say, look, I'm going to keep track of what I do in this show. I'm going to make sure the next show that I do is very, very different. So I did an illusion show last night with Thea and Tom. And what did we do? We opened with Crystal Casket. Then we went into Spike Wrap. Then we went into my routine Destination Mistake. Then we went into Split Press. Then we went into a mind reading thing all based around the YMCA, and then we finished off with the Spontaneous Levitation. That will be written on their entry on our calendar. That will be noted in our CRM system. So when they ring back to book again, we'll make sure that we do a completely different show, because we'll know what we did last time. It takes the guesswork out of it completely, and we actually promote that to clients. We say, you book us again, it's going to be a completely different show. Hi IQ 165 says, Craig, you're a gift to our art. Well, you know, I'm glad you appreciate it. Not everybody in the magic community would share your thoughts, but I'm very happy that you think that, so thank you very much. Okay, so ComCure says, hi Craig, hope you're well. A couple of months ago I asked about your chop cut routine, and you very kindly agreed to add a tutorial to the Netrix. It was mentioned again recently that it was being uploaded soon, but I've had a look and I can't locate it. Do you still have plans for this? Is it locked behind a certain membership tier? Sorry if it feels like I'm chasing, I'm just excited to get learning. Thanks for everything you do for the community. There's 5 new routines going on to the Netrix, or they will have gone up probably by the time you watch this. Yeah, I screwed up. I basically did a chop cut thing in the silver level, and my plan was then to do an expanded version for bronze, and I never did. So it's up there, but just for silver level people in the archives of the VMCs. What I will do is on the next upload, I will get it up there. I will do a full chop cut thing. We'll break everything down. I'll go through it with a fine tooth comb. So please look out for that. I'm sorry it's not up there. It should have been up there by now. I hold my hands up and I say that I'm an idiot, and I will get it up for you. I'm very sorry. Okay, so the next question is Divishan Magician, who says, when doing mine, yours, mystery, or any bank night routine, do you actually let the people keep the £5 if they win? I usually do it for children, not adults. Yes, I absolutely do, 100%. If they do the routine where they're going to win some money, I'll let them keep the money. And you know, like a perfect example of that is bank night. Another perfect example of that is oh God, what's it called? I Hate Kids. But in all honesty with you, you know, I the way I perform bank night, normally they don't win anything. You're probably thinking of the version that a lot of people play by Paul Martin, you know, which is great, but I tend not to do that version, so people don't win with me, and that's the whole premise. However, Richard Osterland had a nice idea. When he's doing a show, he would buy some lottery tickets for the following Saturday, and he would put lottery tickets in the envelopes. So everybody lost, you know, the 4 people lost. However, they all got a lottery ticket. A random lottery ticket, so they got a chance to win millions, which I thought was a really nice idea, and it doesn't cost you much to do that. But yeah, if I was doing Paul Martin's one, I'd definitely let them keep the money, but most of the time, that's not an option. Okay, so the next question is from My Pet Creeper, who says, thanks for all the advice with the Savant deck. I did what you suggested and everyone loved it. I won the talent show that's been offered to a pub residency. My question is, I know what kind of routines to do close-up, but they want me to do a large performance on stage every 2 weeks. What resources do you recommend for putting together a 30-40 minute show? I would suggest looking at the size audience and looking what you do in your show at the moment, close-up, that you can adapt to a stage piece. Okay, you don't have to spend a fortune on stage magic. A lot of the stuff that you do already will work. Something like fiber optics will work brilliantly. Linking rings will work brilliantly. Cards across will work brilliantly. Coins across will work brilliantly. Card to pocket will work brilliantly. Card in the box will work brilliantly. Mind reading, prediction effects, peak effects, all of that sort of stuff will work really, really well. My advice is, if you're starting to work on stage, don't start off by getting all of the big props. Start off by taking the stuff that plays small and learning how to make it play big. And if you want to buy some props, get some stuff that you can play. But, you know, if you don't do cups and balls, buy cups and balls, learn cups and balls, because the scary thing is going out on stage and doing stuff you've never done before. If you do stuff that you've already done close up, then you don't have to worry about the moves. You just have to worry about making it play bigger. So if you're ever going to buy anything, let's say you don't do chop cup, or you don't do cups and balls, or you don't do egg bag, those are all routines that will work in close-up as well as on stage. So buy them, work them in a close-up situation, and then put them into your stage show. But, you know, you don't have to have big props. You can make things play big just through effectively, you know, doing it the right way, if that makes sense. Okay, so Spooky Kid says, hopping halves. I know it's old, but is there anything other than the regular routine that can be done with this set? Regarding the regular routine, is there something better than the typical presentation? I love the trick, but the regular routine seems to be insulting to the person watching. There has to be a better way or routine or story that doesn't make them a victim. What's your view on this trick? I've seen you do it with your coin set. It's awesome, but I wish there'd be a better way and a more interesting way to present it. Effectively, a hopping halves is a sun and moon set with a couple of extra shells. And there's a ton of stuff you can do with sun and moon, load of different routines. What I'll try and do is in the next few weeks, I'll put together a hows and whys of the hopping halves set. And what I'll do is I'll show you how you can take all of the individual gaffs with a hopping halves, and you can use it to create other routines, because you can do coins across, coins through table. The gaffs that you have there, you're able to do so much. So think outside the box. Don't worry about the standard hopping halves presentation. Worry about, you know, what else you can do with it. Now, if you like the presentation, and Spooky Kid's talking about the thing where you go, look, there's a copper and silver. If I take a silver, what does that leave? Copper. No, it's the 2-coin trick. If you don't like that presentation, a presentation that I did for years with this, was a little bit based on the 5-card repeat. So I used to do this. I'd bring out the 2 coins and I'd say, let me explain to you how I got into magic. It was many, many years ago. I watched a magician on TV and he brought out 2 coins, a copper coin and a silver coin. He put the coins in his hand. He reached in, he took out the silver coin. He put the silver coin in his pocket. He snapped his fingers, and when he opened up his hand, he showed that that coin was back and he still had a copper and a silver coin. I was desperate to learn this trick. So I went to the local magic shop. I found a magic shop and I went into the magic shop and I said, have you got the trick that the guy did on TV the other day with the 2 coins? The man in the magic shop, who was this old mystical guy with a robe, he went out to the back and he came back with 2 coins. And he said, what, this one where you say 2 coins, you show a copper and a silver, you reach in, take out the copper coin, put it in your hand, you snap your fingers and the coin comes back and you show you've got 2 coins. And I went, yes, that's the trick. And he sold it to me. It was £200. It was very expensive. Apparently, magic's not cheap. But I went home and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. I sat in my room and I showed that I had 2 coins. I put 1 coin in my pocket, I snapped my fingers and I opened and the 2 coins were still there. And I got it down. It took me a long time, but now, for your entertainment pleasure, I'm going to perform for you the 2 coin trick. Look, I've got a copper and a silver coin. If I put the copper coin in my pocket, what does that leave in my hand? Remember, it's the 2 coin trick. And they say 2 coins. And you go, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to do this coin trick. Do you want to see a card trick instead? And that's a great presentation that you can use for the classic routine that completely takes the sting out of it. Now it's not the spectator getting it wrong every single time. You're telling a story, you're stringing along a narrative, and really the end of the routine, the sting at the end is on you, not on them, because you're saying you can't do the trick. So there you go. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so the next question is from Far8896. Who says, hi Craig, hope all is well with you and your family. As it's the month of October, I have a few Halloween themed questions. If you approach to provide your services to a Halloween horror themed event, what would your full stage parlour walk around be? Also, when the neighbours are coming to my house for trick or treats, do you have any suggestions of what quick tricks to perform them that can entertain them? Thank you and have a great day. Okay, let's talk about this. If people are coming to your house, I'd do something very, very quick. I'd probably do an appearing cane and make it orange and black, or something like that. Something that's really quick and really visual that just appears out of nowhere. You wouldn't want to be doing a routine or anything like that. It'd have to be one moment that almost feels like it's just come out of nowhere. In terms of what would my full stage show be, when I get booked for Halloween events, I typically lean into the horror aspect. So Ryan and Thea are doing illusion shows all Halloween, all over half term. And we're dressing Thea up as the little girl from The Exorcist. And there's this whole 15-minute sequence where she appears as the girl from The Exorcist, and she's trying to harm Ryland in a head and a body twister. And then when she comes out the head and the body twister, something else happens, and something else happens, and eventually he puts her on the sponsor 360 and exercises her live on stage as she levitates up into the air. We've got this whole thing planned out. So a lot of the time it's illusion shows. I tend to have a lot of fun with the Halloween stuff. In terms of parlour and walk around, I typically will stick to a lot of the simple stuff. Monsters is something I do all of the time. A lot of Jamie Dawes' packet tricks that you can get from Alakazam. Fright Night, which is Alakazam's version of the Andy Nyman trick with the serial killers. They've got a version of it with horror characters, with Michael Myers and stuff like that. That's amazing. I love performing that one. That typically is the same type of stuff that I do. Nate Cranzo has got an amazing trick coming out through Penguin, if it's not already out now, which is a version of the Spirit Slate built into a little coffin. And that is incredible. I can't wait to do that this Halloween. And obviously Spirit Bells and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I'd suggest. Hopefully that helps. Twisted Minds Magic says, I saw some familiar Flash products in the bag. Looking forward to the video. Twisted Minds are amazing. If you're watching this video, please reach out to me for an interview. I want to interview you guys. I've become a very big fan of your shop, and your Flash products are brilliant, as are the double blank range, as are the tattoos and everything else you do. I'm a big fan. So, guys, if you're watching this, go and check out Twisted Minds Magic. They've got some incredible stuff there. And if you're watching, hit me up. I want to do an interview with you. Okay, so the next question is from Anthony Povey, who says, "Hi Craig, hope you're well. Can you tell me any more about the credit card releases with both Alakazam and Murphy's? Many thanks." So, not really. I'm not allowed to say too much about anything. But the one with Murphy's, it's involving one credit card, and it is unlike anything that you've ever seen before. And it took us 4 years to make the gimmick, because it's not just a credit card you get something else as well. And you get these two things, and what they allow you to do is perform something that happens in the spectator's hands that's just the perfect walk around trick. It's all based on the concept of credit fraud. That's kind of the hook line, and it happens in the spectator's hand. It's based on a very old Daryl trick, but anybody I've actually shown it to, they don't even see the link between the Daryl trick and this one, because it's using different props, different method. But that was my starting point. But it's basically a credit card. It's a credit fraud themed routine. The spectator holds onto a credit card that they examine, and something using another prop happens to it. And then you've got a bunch of bonus routines as well, as you would expect with my stuff. The other one that's being released through Alakazam, that was created for me by Phil Smith, and it is in my wallet every time. In fact, I went to the Magic Bar live, and I did some close-up magic for all of the members there. Well, for all of the lay people, and then afterwards for all of the magicians. And I did this trick, and I had 3 of them message me afterwards going, "When can I get that? That is amazing." It is a completely self-working pickpocket style demonstration. So it's using 5 credit cards that you just have in your 4 credit cards that you just have in your wallet, and you take them out and you do an incredible pickpocketing style routine where you show all of the cards. There's 5 cards, but 4 of them are like gym cards and membership cards, and 1 of them is a credit card. They hold on to them in their hands, and then with no sleight of hand and no skill, you're able to steal the credit card out of their hand and in an amazing way. It's so good. It's so good. I love it. And if you know Lee Thompson, so Lee Thompson is one of my favorite people. He's an incredible pickpocket. Lee Thompson is brilliant. He's worked for Cirque du Soleil. He is the GOAT when it comes to pickpocketing, in my opinion. He watched me do this. We were at Magic Live, and I showed it him because it's my everyday carry. It's my favorite everyday carry. It lives in my wallet, and I showed it him, and he's like, "I would so do that. Like, if you want to quote, tell people, you know, this is amazing." Lee Thompson says this is an amazing pickpocketing routine, because Lee loves the fact that he can throw it into all of his hardcore pickpocketing, but there's no skill to it. And yeah, it's brilliant. So there's the 2 of them. That's all I can tell you, other than they're both coming soon. Okay, so the Mystery Box Studio says, aren't illusion shows just a magician walking around and the assistants doing most of the work, or at least structured to be this way? You know, that's the misconception about illusion shows, that it's the assistant doing a lot of the work, because when you put the girl in the box, or the person who goes in the box, yes, absolutely, there's a lot of stuff that's being done by the girl in the box during the course of the illusion show. But I spend more time rehearsing illusions and rehearsing illusion shows than I do anything else, because it's so important. The choreography is so important. The musicality is so important. Everything has to hit a particular beat, and it's so difficult to get it looking right, because if you don't do it right, it just looks shit. It really does. You have to make it look right. And I'm at a point now where I'm close to retiring from illusion shows, which I'm really sad about, but that's just the way it is. Ryan and Thea, they probably rehearse 4 or 5 hours a day doing all of this stuff. So yeah, look, illusion shows are amazing. I'm going to do a video on it at some point in the future. I'm going to talk about illusion shows, and I'm going to talk about why it's not just a girl in a box, but honestly, it's really not. Okay, so Divishan Magician says, other than the pop, Hayden linking rings, what are good look, no, see tricks for adults? Maybe you can do a video on this, but can you give a couple of examples? Yeah, I mean, there's lots. I will do a video on look, no, see. That's probably a good idea, but look, no, see for adults. Sheer luck is a great one. Paper balls over the head is a great one. The Pop Hayden linking rings routine is a great one. Dancing Hank, Extreme Hank by Sean Begonia, if done the right way, is a great one. The thing that Miranda did with the astonishing bottle and the cards, and you have somebody think of a card, and John Archer did something similar on BGT. That's a great look, no, see thing for adults if you're done the right way. So there's 4 or 5 examples, but I'll do a video on this, look, no, see for adults. I think that's a great idea. I think it would work really well as a video, so I'll get onto that. Okay, so the next question is Hungavan Amersfoort, who says, "Hi Craig, the best open prediction, in my opinion, is Roberto Giobbi's Miracle Prediction. Granted, there's a gaff in play and the variation of the pass, so it's not for everyone, but a spectator can deal. A gaffless version is big deal, but why bother?" Yeah, I agree. I think it's a fantastic version. I prefer Marlowe's, but I do agree it's a perfect version. And I'm looking into Springboard thing by Michael Murray, you suggested last week. I'll come back to that. Yeah, Springboard is amazing, so go and check that out. But yeah, thank you. You're not wrong. Roberto Giobbi is amazing, and I do know the Miracle Prediction. It's great, and everyone watching this should go and check it out. Okay, the next question is from Masters of Criminology, who says, "Hey Craig, I've always described the difference between stage and cabaret and parlour as this. Cabaret parlour is a small venue with a smaller crowd that seems more intimate between the performer and the audience, that contains small to medium-sized performance and apparatus, where stage is more larger illusions or performances in a large theatre that does not allow for a more intimate setting." Just my two thoughts. I agree. Although using projection and using screens, you can actually still get that intimate feel on a large stage if done the right way. But yeah, I would completely agree with you. Fixer9398 says, "Hi Craig, who do you think is an underrated creator?" I think a lot of people that are getting into magic now aren't aware of some of the creators who I really look up to. But I would say, let's think here. I would say Gary Jones is somebody that a lot of people aren't aware of now, especially outside of the UK, and Gary Jones is an amazing creator. I would also say Lee Smith, who was an amazing creator. Mark Bendell and Lee Smith back in the day were incredible creators, they focus on performing now, but I think they're amazing, very, very underrated. I'd say Daniel Chard, because Daniel's so busy working and performing, and he's like literally gigging all of the time. People forget some of the amazing magic he's created over the years, but Dan is a brilliant creator. I would also say, Jamie Williams has some great stuff, and a lot of people don't think of Jamie. I know he goes out and lectures and does great, but a lot of people, he doesn't make their lists, and he should. Jamie Williams is a really great creator, in my opinion. Maybe Lord Harry Harrington as well. Lord Harry is great, and he's brought some stuff out over the time, but I don't think he's ever been recognised worldwide, and he should do, because Lord Harry is fantastic. Those are the ones that I would say off the top of my head that I can think of, that I think, yeah, they're underrated. Okay, so Archie Cox says, "Hi Craig, thanks for answering my questions. In terms of a game show act, I mentioned on the last Q&A I'd like to run around for about 15 minutes and be able to play on stage. To remind you of the tricks I mentioned, a prediction of what they said they would do for the money if they won, mind reading using Game Night and Lucky Key. You also mentioned things like Petty Cash, Lucky Lotto, and Simon Says. As a structure for the act, I'd like it to be a game show and have different rounds, ideally 3 or 4, and have a different piece of magic happen in each round. I think the Lucky Key would make a good piece in the last round, as it can be, if they chose the correct key, they win the money, and if they don't, the host gets to keep it, and maybe after that I can have a prediction of things that happen throughout. Do you have any advice on how I could structure the remainder of the act? Thanks as always." I think you've got a great structure there. I really think you've got a great structure there. The one thing that I would do is I would make each phase more impossible. So I'd start with something that the audience perceived small. So we talked earlier on this video about rock, paper, scissors. I would start maybe with a rock, paper, scissors style routine, because that's just, small, right? But then I'd move on to something that's got more impossibility to it. Something like Petty Cash, because there's more options apparently with that. Then maybe onto something else, maybe Game Night, and something else on something else. So I think the most important part, you've got it down, you've got the structure down. You're going to have a game show, you have a series of rounds, and then you predict everything that's happening. I think that's the perfect structure for a 15-20 minute act. The only thing that I would say is make sure everything builds. Make sure that each phase becomes progressively more impossible. That's the most important thing. When people put an act together like this, a lot of the time they forget that, but every effect, every phase needs to get bigger and better. Outside of that, I think it's awesome. Keep going. Okay, so David Blaine says, "What do you think of the Spirit Bell by Murphys? I don't think it's a trick that will work any time of the year. This effect seems like a lot of money for performing one time a year around Halloween." I personally think that it would work all year round. I personally think you bring up the subject of Harry Houdini and the bell rings, you know, and it doesn't have to be spirits. It could be something else. It could be a flea that jumps into into the bell and starts ringing it. And there's a million different things that you could do presentationally. This bell is an investment, absolutely 100%. But, you know, you think about other ways. Think outside the box. It's what I do with a lot of my projects. You know, like, this is intended for this purpose, right? If we strike this purpose away, what else can we do with it? What else can I do to present it? What else can I do with this effect? And that's what I would suggest. Okay, so the next question is Magic Trades, who says, hey Craig, you mentioned you performed at the Magic Bar in Llandudno. Are there any good ones in London or close to London? I'm coming back to the UK for my birthday next year and looking at a Magic Bar for a fun night out. In London, you've got the, there's this thing called Magic something or other. I can't remember what it's called. Look up Magic in London. It's huge. I can't remember what it's called. The Magician's Table, that's it. The Magician's Table is what a lot of people are saying are the best magic show in London at the moment. So look up the Magician's Table. You can get tickets online. Their website is themagicianstablelive.com. Also, do not discount the Magic Circle because they have some incredible shows at the moment. They are constantly putting stuff up. So have the Magic Circle every Saturday. They have a show in the evening. They have a magic showcase once a month. They have close-up every Friday night. They do magic kid shows, I think, once a week as well. They've got the Hidden Cabaret coming up in November. There's loads of stuff on their website. The amount of shows that they've got now, the events team are absolutely kicking arse. They really are. It's incredible. They've even got shows on for kids now. They've got the Magic Circle Christmas show. They've got so many different things coming up. So I would check out the Magic Circle website, magiccircle.co.uk/shows. And then you can also get a tour around the Magic Circle as well. So, and if you're a magician, you can come on a Monday night and you can come to club night if you can get a member to put you forward. Sean Coleman says, hi Craig, great video as always, thank you. I messed around with little card magic about 20 years ago, but found being autistic, as soon as I tried performing, I'd start shaking like a pooping dog and decided to just enjoy watching it. Fast forward 20 years and I've picked it up again for my children. I'm pretty good. I've bought some tricks like Lux and Cognito and gained some confidence doing them with people I'm comfortable with. I bought Game Night last week and it's blown my mind and people I've shown it to. And more importantly, I'd really like to try this on strangers. So do you have any tips on how to help me out, mentally prepare, or actually get the courage to approach people? I've tried a few times with having Cognito on my phone and being really confident, but I still just bottle out. Any advice would be amazing. Right, first of all, welcome back to Magic. Second of all, forget about Game Night, forget about Cognito, forget about Lux for 1 minute. The reason that people bottle it is because they're nervous about the trick going wrong. So get used to going and doing a trick that can't possibly go wrong. Just do a cut deeper force. Have an envelope with a prediction in it and make sure that the deck has the card that you're going to force on top. Give them the prediction, give them the deck. Tell them to take out the deck and spread it face up so they can see it's all different. Have them turn it face down. Have them cut a small packet, turn it face up. Have them cut deeper, turn it face up. Tell them to spread to the first face down card and put it on the table. Have them put the rest of the cards away in the box. Have them turn that card over and then tell them to open up the prediction. It's a killer trick. Sometimes as magicians, we forget how strong a simple prediction can be. It's really strong. Laymen love it. However, from your point of view, you do nothing. You don't have to hardly say anything. The spectator's doing everything. It can't possibly go wrong. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you courage, and it's going to give you courage going out and performing magic to people. You'll be able to start going up to people and doing this trick. And then after you've done this trick, you'll see what the reactions are like. And then you can go and do Game Night, for example, and do something simple with Game Night. Don't try and do something difficult. Just literally have them cut the cards, take the bottom card, put the rest of the cards to one side, and tell them the word they're thinking of, and then do it again and do it again and do it again. But take baby steps. Don't just jump in feet first, right? You need to build yourself up to it. Start off with something super simple, and don't forget, magic is a performance art. I promise you, if you start performing to people, you're going to be so proud of yourself. And you're going to want to do it more. You'll catch the bug, but you have to start with baby steps before you jump in. Okay, so the next question is Stephen Devereux, who says, "Hi Craig, I've been watching your older videos on the Wizard product review. I see a lot of tricks that are amazing that I've never heard of before. I know we all want the newest and latest and greatest tricks, but I feel there's some great tricks back then." I agree. One of the things that I always say to people is go onto the Magic Cafe and go into the latest and greatest forum and go back to page 100 plus. Go back 3 or 4 years, if not longer, and go and look for the threads back then on that forum that were over 30 pages long, because those are the tricks that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago people were raving about and everyone was talking about. Go look at those tricks, because people won't be talking about them now. They'll have been forgotten, but you'll still be able to find them, and you'll be performing something very, very unique and very different that nobody else does. We forget how great the tricks are that have come out years ago because we raced to buy the latest and greatest trick. Go look on the Magic Cafe. Go look back 100 pages on the latest and greatest forum, and you'll find something unique that's awesome that nobody else is doing. Okay, so Stephen Murdoch says, "Hello again, Craig. An update on my latest community centre Parlour act I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. I'd originally planned using the finale, Matthew Wright's Marvellous Nesting of Envelopes, as a confabulation type finale. I spent a great deal of time working it all out, from filling in the info to the final load. The thing is now, after some rehearsal, I'm bothered by the whole aspect of such a final prediction based on outcomes of various routines in the show. I can't resolve the conflict between the prediction and the various demonstrations in the show, if that makes sense. I seem to be at an impasse. I could ditch the whole confabulation finale. That would greatly simplify the whole act, but leave me with needing a new finale. I could modify the confabulation to reveal information unrelated to the actual core routines, which may require a complete overhaul. I could ignore the discrepancy and contradiction and continue as is, or maybe some other solution I haven't thought of. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. If you're conflicted about the finale of your show, you shouldn't be doing it. It's as simple as that. You have to have confidence in your act. If you don't have confidence in your act, nobody else will have confidence in your act either. So I would think about something else. I would really kind of go and look at it again from the ground up. Look at the different routines that you've got there and think of a way that you can incorporate those into a bigger finale. And I don't know what that's going to be. I'm not too sure. But what I am sure of is if you're not happy with the way it's playing out at the moment, that will come across to the audience, and that's never a good thing. So I would take it back to the base level. Maybe you want to do a normal confabulation, or maybe you want to do a confabulation where after each different point in the show, or various different points in the show, you're asking someone's opinion, or you're asking a question just randomly, and you go, okay, right, fine, we'll get back to that later on, and you're building up a confabulation, but they don't realize what you're doing until the end, when you say, now randomly throughout the show, I was asking you various questions, seemingly unrelated to anything else that was happening in the show. But here's the thing, it's a little bit like watching a movie with a twist. You ever seen Sixth Sense? Spoiler, he's dead, right? The thing with that is you never see that twist coming. You expect something, but never that. Well, here's the thing. You've been watching the show. You've been watching all these amazing tricks, and I've been asking you information throughout. The reason is because of this. And then you show the prediction or whatever. So that's a way of doing it. But seriously, really think about it, because you want to be confident in your act. Okay, final question is from Divashan, magician, who says, have you ever done rainbow Polaroid and someone said the flash is on when taking the photo? If so, what did you say? This isn't a huge problem. It doesn't entirely reveal the trick, but it's better to have a response. I've never had it, and I'd probably just say, yeah, put the flash on. It's auto flash. It's obviously a bit dark in here. Honestly, I really don't think it's an issue. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. Don't forget, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to join the Netrix. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. You can get access immediately by going to netrix.com. I've got a review show special tonight. Look out for it. And outside of that, I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig, and this is Magic TV.